Hello, everybody, and welcome to this latest in the ValuesJam guest session series. And Alicia, great to have you here with us today. And to kick off, please introduce yourself and tell everybody about the great work that you do.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. My name is Alicia Espinosa, and I am originally from Panama, and I live in Sweden already like 34 years. I help people, individuals, to stop chasing the happiness from the outside world and find that from the inside, and to create a life that feels good on the inside, not just looks good at the outside, because you can have everything the outside but still empty on the inside. So this is what I help people with, and also organizations, to align the values of the employees with the values of the organization so that they can create a great place to work and create money, because it's what business is. And you can find me in LinkedIn. I have a social media. LinkedIn is I am active in LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay.
With my name. So.
What a great introduction. It sounds like we operate in very, very similar space. So the way I like to think of what you've just described is activating our values. And it's become a bit of a signature phrase for me, which is values are for living, not laminating. Because
Yeah.
too many organizations put the words up on the wall and they think that's the job done. But actually, that's
Yeah.
at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I call it the desk work. You do something in the desk. You sit in and asking, oh, what are the values we have? And even if they include some other peoples to work with the values, but then they have that on the desk or in laminated or in the shelf.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Okay, now before we choose the Values Jam card, I do have one question from what you've just introduced yourself. I'm curious about what took you from Panama to Sweden.
Yeah, oh, that is a huge story that I would say like that. So I am from a very poor family uh, in the financials. So I got a scholarship to study in Odessa, Ukraine. So
Yeah.
I moved when I was 18 years old. After my school, I moved to Odessa, and then I studied there at the university, at the Technological Institute of Odessa, and I was there 6 years. And then after that, I moved to Sweden, because I was like, okay, oh, and I was a single mother. So because I was a single mother, I was thinking more, how can I create a life that I can give my son what I didn't have, and that I get him a good education and so. And my brother, my older brother, was also in Odessa studying, and he said, "You should go to Sweden, because they have a very good politicians, for the childrens." Um, and then I said, "Okay." So I listened to my older brother, and I came to Sweden, and that was 34 years ago.
Wow. Isn't life wonderful when you think about how a conversation with somebody close to you that you trust
Yeah.
shaped the rest of your life in a very different way than it might have been if you did not have that conversation?
Yes, yeah, it is, and I admire my brother, my older brother, and we were always together. So he told me that that is what you should do, and I do that.
Great.
Uh,
So,
I was so young, so
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, let's choose a Values Jam card from the deck. So I'm going to tip out the cards and then put them into piles in front of me. So how many piles shall I make?
Three.
3, okay. And I always make them different sizes rather than the same sizes. So I've got number 1 pile on my left, number 3 on the right, and number 2 in the middle. So which number pile would you like?
In the middle.
Okay. So number 2 pile has 3, 6, 9, 12, 16 cards. So a number between 1 and 16, please.
12.
12. So I'm going to go from the back. 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. So this is the card that you've chosen.
Oh, harmony.
So
Yeah.
go on. That was a particular reaction. So what did you feel when you read that word?
You know, I feel this, when I feel that to get this harmony inside myself, and harmony with my thought, my feelings, and also my actions, that they are aligned to each other, so that I can get a peace of mind and the freedom.
You know,
So finding that harmony within me, because life is like a magnet. It has a plus side and a minus side, and you will never find, like, if you cut the assume that this is the magnet and you have a minus and a plus, and if you cut, you always get the plus and minus, and that is life. We always will have that plus thing that we perceive as positive and that we perceive as negative. And to find the harmony within that and find that it's okay is what it came to me.
right. Okay. And I love your metaphor of a magnet. I think I've not heard that before. I think it's really great because, like you say, we tend to think that, oh, let me choose the positive end and then the negative end will go away, but it never does, right?
No, it never. It is just, is to live in denial that life is always should be positive. And it's when we choose to have that harmony within us that the life is like it is a positive, or it is just is what I learned. It's just is. And then we, as individuals, we take an etiquette and say this is positive and this is negative. But something that is positive for me, that maybe is negative for somebody else.
Yeah.
And something that is negative for somebody else, maybe is positive for me.
Yeah, and also that surface level judgment, perhaps in the long term, proves not to be correct anyway. So, if I think of examples of people that have shared with me times that they have maybe been made redundant from their job, and then later they say that was the best thing that ever happened to me. At the time, it didn't feel like it, but later it certainly did. Other people with relationships. I remember somebody telling me about how they fell in love with this person and it was wonderful, but that didn't last very long. And then they'd made big decisions and it ended up being a mistake. So it's this thing about we fool ourselves sometimes that we know more than we think.
Yeah. And I think that life or nature have a tendency to get everything in harmony.
Yeah.
If you have too much of the positive and you need to have a harmony in everything. And yeah, so but we sometimes have an expectation that it should be in a way, and then when it's not that, then it creates frustration.
Yeah.
So the expectation creates frustration, because we don't think that, okay, this is in harmony with life,
Yeah.
nature.
Okay. So the first question is quite technical, and we've kind of started to explore it already. But the question is, what does harmony mean? And there's a follow-up part to the question, which is, what does it look, sound, and feel like? But let's start with not a definition, but a description of what harmony actually means.
Hmm.
I think you touched on it with this
Yeah,
thinking about alignment.
yeah, it is. It's like, at least for me, it's having this alignment with my my thought and my feelings, that when they are in harmony with each other, or they are aligned, then I can feel the harmony. When I don't chase things outside me, I get this in the harmony. The definition, it is so different for different people. This is the thing with that. And this is the thing, that because we sometimes we think that it should be a definition, like in the dictionary, you find the definition of this. Okay, we can find that, but we as individual can have different definitions about that
Yeah.
based on our beliefs that we have. So yeah, so for me, it's I have this alignment with my thought and feelings, that they are in sync to each other, then I can feel that harmony within me.
And harmony, you won't know this, but harmony is a very special word for the ValuesJam card deck. And the reason why is because Lisa Birtles was the lady that I co-created the ValuesJam concept with.
Yeah. Ah,
And it's based on the concept of a music jam. And in a
yeah,
music jam, you just turn up with whatever instrument you've got, right? Nobody says
mm,
to you, oh, that's not good enough. You just
yeah, yeah,
arrive. And then nobody gives you any direction. Everybody just starts to play something and see where it goes. And also, if anybody makes a mistake, then nobody gives them a hard time about it. You just
no,
embrace it and carry on. And
yeah,
when we were developing the card game, we thought, wouldn't it be great if there could be a way to have conversations more like that
yeah,
than the normal conversations, which are kind of, both people maybe want to get to a particular point. They're not listening to the other person. They're trying to get their point of view across. Anyway, Lisa, one of her core values is harmony. And
mm,
there's a little leaflet here in the card deck,
yeah,
and there's a quote from her, and it says, "Strong harmonies are made from different voices working together." So,
mm,
sometimes the preconception of harmony is that everybody has to be singing the same thing, whereas this,
yeah,
I think, makes a really great point that that's not the case, that it's different voices working together. What do you think?
yeah, yeah. I agree, because this is a sense of balance. The harmony is to have a sense of balance, and when I mean, we all have different way of see the world, and it's when we came together and discuss, and it's like you say, it's not like everybody need to have the same way of see the world, and discussing that and having this flow within people to create that sense of balance, that, yeah, I think. And I normally, I have my special tools that I use to show that. That is, we all have different way of see the world, you know?
Okay.
So maybe I see the world this way, and
Yeah.
maybe you see the world this way.
Yeah.
And then we have another person that see the world this way.
Yeah.
So, but when we are open to each other's way of see the world, we can create the harmony, the flow in the workplace or the family and so on. So this is like accepting that we all have different ways, different frames in how we see the world.
Yeah. That's a great point. And it's, I was having conversations recently about how in either society or in organizations, we tend to create systems that try to expect everybody to be the same. But what you've just described means that that's not going to work particularly well because we're
Yeah.
not.
No, I don't know if you are familiar with. I have a boy. He is the youngest one is 15, or he will turn 16, and he is playing. And he plays something that is Roblox and Minecraft.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, and you see that the characters in those plays are very, hard,
yeah,
Imagine all people being like that.
yeah,
Or imagine the trees being like that in nature.
yeah,
So, so boring. And the beauty is that everything is in harmony, creating a beautiful things, creating beautiful landscapes. And we people have different frames how we see the world, the values, the culture, the language, everything that put us as individuals. And when we together came and discuss and accept that, okay, Alan, you have this way of see the world, and I have this way of see the world. Let's come in and discuss to create. But no, it's like, no, Alan, you should not think like that because in my world
yeah,
it's like this,
yeah,
and that it doesn't create an harmony.
yeah. And that's the root, that's again the root of these conversations because they're designed to encourage listening to the other perspective rather than necessarily putting forward your own perspective. And this conversation has reminded me, let me explain that what happens in Values Jam a lot is that memories from quite some time ago sometimes come back and surface. And one, it's just happened to me because there's a lady in Australia called Gail Owen, and her son, and this is a few years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Her son spent a lot of his time on video games, and in a conversation, she decided that instead of allowing him to just get on with it and regard it as something foreign to her, instead of that, she would show some interest. And she shared with me afterwards that what she discovered was that her son was one of the top gamers in his country. And she was so proud of him. And it changed the perspective completely. And she described how that helped their relationship. So I'm just supporting exactly what you said.
Yeah, yeah. And this is the perspective, because maybe she has if I came to myself, it's like I have in my head, like, this is not, I want the best for my son. Yeah.
On your
But
terms.
yeah, in my terms, according to my way of seeing the world. And then he has also that he wants the best for himself. And when they are not in alignment with what I think it should be, then it will be like,
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So,
And
and
also,
of course, we need to set boundaries
yeah,
because they still young, but we need, I agree with your friend, the realization that to be more interested in that.
mm. And I think the other thing as well is that sometimes, that situation that you've just described where there are two different perspectives, sometimes people make out that it's not challenging to bring the two perspectives together. That, they'll say something like this, that, oh, you got to understand that everybody has their own perspective, and so you really need to come together because otherwise you're going to be in conflict, as if
Yeah,
it's so easy to do. And I'll
yeah,
just explain. So, a personal story. I remember when I had children, one of the big things that was in my mind was to, a bit like you explained earlier, to create opportunity for them that I didn't have so easily when I was their age. So, I don't know why, but this translated into get them into university, and
mm,
then that will set them up for their life. So that
mm,
was the perspective. So then Jack, my eldest son, decided that he wanted to travel, and funnily enough, South America. He wanted to travel there, and so he went. But while he was there, he decided that he didn't want to go to the university place that he had been offered. And when he shared this, it wasn't easy to accept at all, because it was like, that's what's going to happen, right? You're going to go to university, then you'll be set up.
yeah,
And he didn't go, and he's great. He's doing very, very well. And in some ways, he's probably done better than if he had gone to university. But it was
mm,
tough at the time to bring the two different perspectives together.
yeah, yeah. It is, and it's also what happened in the workplace that sometimes so people have a perspective, but they don't want to say that because of the fear of conflict, uh, and 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 then nothing happened in the workplace, and then they start to talk behind the back on, so instead of discussing and say, okay, we have two different perspectives, let us discuss this, and came to with something great with the two perspective. But it's sometimes people are so afraid of having conflicts.
Yeah. And again, it's not easy to have those conversations, is it?
No, no.
And so it's about sometimes, what is that about? Because we make choices based on a number of different data points, if you like. And sometimes, I guess, personal interest comes into play, um, convenience and easiness comes into play,
Yeah.
avoiding conflict comes into play, lots of different things all at the same time. And actually, there's a question on here. Where have you noticed a lack of harmony? So, can you think of a time when either you were involved or you witnessed a lack of harmony?
Mm, I think that, it's not like I go with harmony all the time. Like, oh, I am living in harmony all the time. Sometimes when I want something and and my expectation are not what the reality is showing,
Hmm.
then I get in disconnected from my harmony.
Okay. And
So this is
is there a specific example that you can recall that demonstrates that?
yeah, it can be, for example, very recently I contacted a company, an organization, to have our a work to do a work there,
Yeah.
and my expectation was so high, and I was like, I know that I can help them. I know the issues that they have, and so. And then they decided to go for another, then the harmony was there because my expectation was like, we are working together, we are doing great, we are working with the employees and the values of the organization and creating uh, safety in the organization and so. And then suddenly it was like, a shower with the ice came. So the at the moment the harmony was like, like I just start to think, thought that, oh, but maybe it's not so good, maybe that, all this and the feelings, it was not really in harmony with what I wanted.
Mm. You've
So,
reminded me of,
so
no, go on, finish off.
no, so it was that. This is a very fresh, like one week or 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
and I was like, and I have I like a poncho that I call the victim poncho, and I set that poncho on me, and I was, now I'm going to sit here, be sad, cry, uh, be totally without harmony, so, and then after that, I thought, okay, now we need to focus. Yeah.
Yeah, and get on. Yeah, that I can relate to what you've described. I remember a pitch situation in person, and I was asked the question, what results are there going to be from this cultural transformation project? And so
Mm.
I described that normally, when I did similar projects, customer satisfaction improved, employee engagement improved, employee retention improved. And then I said something like, but of course it varies from organization to organization and circumstance. And so I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly what the results are going to be. So this guy said, if you cannot tell us what the results are going to be, we're not going to be able to give you the project.
Mm.
And before I could process what I was hearing, I heard my voice. And my voice said, well, if you're not ready, let's not do it. And
Mm.
I walked out. I didn't get that piece of work, but it was a watershed moment because I realized that it is a waste of effort trying to convince and persuade people. And so then as I walked out, or as I was going home, I decided that I just wanted to be with people that had a similar perspective because I haven't got enough energy to persuade everybody in the world that
Yeah.
doesn't think similarly.
Yeah. I also believe about that because uh, I normally say you can take the horse to the water, but you cannot get it to drink if it doesn't want. And
Yeah.
this is the in organizations. People contact me and say, "Oh, tell me how is going to be with coaching with you, or working with the organization." I don't know because I don't have a process that is like, okay, Alan, we do this and this and this. I follow the harmony that is in the, sometimes I think, okay, we are going to work with this, but when we come together, it's something else because if I am aligned with my values, my spirit, and everything is in harmony, I am listening to you, and I am not thinking that I have a protocol to follow,
Yeah.
but I am listening to you from my heart, and then the conversation can be totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. And that must be challenging because, like you say, if somebody's wanting to buy a coaching
Yeah.
program and they ask you, well, what's that going to be like? And you say, well, I don't know. That's kind of for them, that's, oh, really? And so I suppose I feel very fortunate because I've developed frameworks that I use, and you probably use something
Yeah,
similar.
yeah,
So I think the benefit of frameworks is that you can still give people freedom, but within a framework. So the My
yeah,
31 Practices approach, for instance, I'm able to say, this is the structure we'll follow. I
yeah.
don't know what you're going to create for yourself because it's yours.
Mm,
But then they do understand that you've got some sort of
mm,
guiding path that you're following. Um,
mm.
and what about the? Oh, sorry. One other thing that was in my mind was it. This has become a bit of a cliche saying, but when our conversation reminded me of it, which is perception is reality, and it's this thing around. You can sit there in your poncho telling yourself that your solution was the best one, but if they didn't see it that way and they saw it a different way, there's nothing you can do about it, right?
No, no, it's nothing we can do. So, so I believe that we here the perception for me was like, okay, it's not so good. I'm not so good. Da da da. Just because in that moment I decided my perception that this was negative for me. But I don't know. It maybe be so positive. I don't know. Something better come.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
when we attach to the perception of something that we decide that this is positive or negative. And I say life is life. It is. It not, as I told you before. Is positive. Not positive. It's not negative. It just is.
Yeah,
It's like an apple, or we have it is an apple, and we have different perception about an apple.
yeah.
So if we look at what is an apple for you.
What is an apple for me? Well, I was just started, as you mentioned it, I was thinking lots of different things actually. So I was imagining this shiny red apple, and then you bite it and it's sour. And you think,
Yeah,
oh, I wasn't really expecting that. But instead of thinking it's sour, so it's bad, it's not bad. It's just different than the big red shiny apple led you to believe. So isn't that interesting how it can be different underneath to what it presents on the surface and your
yeah,
interpretation?
yeah. And for me, apple is something that I don't like.
Okay.
uh, I am afraid of because I am
Afraid.
allergic.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. So we have here the apple. It just is apple, and you have a perception of that, and I have a perception of that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Two
exactly.
different perception,
Yeah. And what
but
about
apple is just apple.
let's take, we've talked about a lack of harmony. What about a time when there has been really fantastic harmony? Can you think of a time that you've experienced where harmony has been there?
Yeah, it was this last weekend. We have a house for the summer. It's about 200 kilometers from where I live in Sweden, in Gävle, and it's near Stockholm. So, and I was there with my partner and my son, and it's so quiet, and you sit there, or I sat there, listen to the birth, you know, uh, not thinking about what I should do or what I needed to do. I was just in the moment, and I took a walk alone in the forest, and it was so I felt so in harmony, so in balance, the flow in myself. That
That's,
was a moment.
that's a great example. And there's something about nature that assists a feeling of harmony. Mine is similar to yours. So this past weekend, I took my eldest daughter and her grandson to the beach for a few days. And I'm thinking about one morning when Jacob and I went to the beach. He had a frisbee, and it was very misty, so you couldn't really see very far. So people in the distance on the big beach that you could hardly make out what they looked like. But he was throwing this frisbee a long way and then running after it, and we were both running after it, and it just felt very special because it was just lots and lots of space. So it's a sandy beach, which is, I think, 7 miles long, and the tide was out, so there was loads of space. And he was
Mhm.
shouting, and enjoying just being free in the space. And I was enjoying, he was doing most of the running, not me, but, and it felt great. And then I've got one work example, which was I used to work in hotels, and
Mm.
we had a team in the event management function for the London Intercontinental, which is at the bottom of Park Lane in London. And we had a team. I don't know. I won't be able to describe to you what it was, but we performed really well for a few years where we achieved all of our targets. Our service was fantastic. People got on really well together. And it just felt like we were invincible. It was a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, that is so good when we work with in teams, and when they come together and you achieve that is amazing. I have a similar special, and I work a lot with men,
Okay.
working coaching men. So I normally say I'm a specialist in men, working with and this, when a man come, like, I don't know what I'm going to talk to you, because they needed to do that, because the manager said you need to go to Alicia, and then I don't know. So, and how long time will take this? I said, well, this at least 1 hour, so you can sit quiet if you want. So, or we can start to talk, and then after 1.5 hours, like, oh my God, 1.5 hours, and I have told you things that I don't want anybody to think to think, or to talk with me.
Yeah.
And that is so, you know so nice to feel that you can help a person, and it will be a lot in harmony with my values of contribution.
Yeah. And it's great that people find that they are safe enough with you to be able to share things like that.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, with Jacob, we were walking along the beach and the sun came out, so the mist started to break, and so our shadows were quite long on the beach as we were
Mm.
walking. And so I said to him, Jacob, can you imagine if our shadows had a conversation with each other? And and I was your shadow and you were my shadow. So I said, who's going to start? And he said, you can start. So I said, okay. So I said, so Grandad, um, what do you think about this beach? And he put on this very deep voice. He said, I think this beach is. And so that he obviously thinks that my voice is really deep compared to his, which it is. But it was a real surprise. I hadn't really thought about that perspective at all. So it was really good fun, just kind of playing with things like that. Whereas normally you can just go through life like
Yeah.
blinkered, not
Yeah.
understanding that sort of thing.
Yeah. Not being in the moment, on the
Hmm.
moment, and thinking what you shouldn't you all the time, and not just being in the now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, on in Values Jam, there's also a way that you can ask your own question. So let's do that now. So ask your own question about harmony, beginning with who, what, where, when, why, or how. And if you have the answer immediately, please do share that. Or if you prefer, you can ask me the question and then you can respond.
So with who? Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so you create your own question. It has to be about harmony. And so the suggestion is that the question begins with who, what, where, when, why, or how.
How can I create more harmony how can I create even more harmony in my life?
So in our lives, or you
In our life,
specifically?
yeah.
In our lives.
No, in or how can we create more harmony, even more harmony, because we have already some harmony. How can we create even more harmony in our life, or in your life?
So are you going to go first, or shall I go first? Which?
You can go first.
Okay, so I'm thinking that for there to be even more harmony, there needs to be even more acceptance that we are not in control, and to have the courage to believe that your belief in yourself will serve you well, whatever the circumstances that happen. And also that thing about Jacob and his voice. So now I understand that he has that perspective. I'm going to maybe behave slightly differently. So to have a better understanding of other people's perspectives rather than think that you're the center of the universe, and everything revolves around you. So those two things. One, just accepting that things will happen and trust in yourself, and two, try to see things through the eyes of others. Those are the two things that come to mind for me. What about you?
For me is, I will say, to play more, to
Yeah,
be more
great one.
active.
Yeah.
I will create even more harmony, and not to be to be so serious in everything. To let more the child inside, in the creativity and so, but also to be more in aligned with my purpose.
Yeah.
That is my purpose, and sometimes the fear of people judging my purpose, and so maybe I back a little bit instead of being more in harmony with my purpose. Yeah.
That raises, I'm curious about this because, it's become a bit overused, but, people say you need to bring your whole self to work, and you need to be you, and you don't fit in with what's going around you. And I get that. But there is another side for me, which is about how it's so important to me to respect other people. So, you can't just walk into a room and be yourself. You need to understand the perspective of other people there, because else it might be upsetting or damaging or whatever it is. So how do you, is it to do with harmony? It seems like maybe harmony, maybe balance. How best to strike that balance between being true to yourself, but also respectful of other people at the same time?
And it's to understand that I cannot do anything by myself.
Mhm.
We need other people to create things. I'm more like I love hearing perspective from other people, and so, but it's more like the trolls telling you, oh, you are so this and this. That type of people I don't want to be involved with,
Yeah,
because I believe that everybody is doing the best they can with the knowledge, resources, awareness they have,
yeah,
and and go in that discussion with somebody that cannot see my perspective. It's like I don't want to. Of course, you can say your perspective in a respectful way, but there are people that they are not respectful.
yeah.
So it's to find the tribe that lift you up, they give you different perspective, but the perspective is not like to put you down,
Yeah,
but to lift you up.
yeah,
Yeah. So we cannot create alone.
yeah.
No, we need the people around, and we are different. But sometimes we need to, I believe that we need to follow what is in our heart, because it came to us, not to everybody, and
And
to listen to that.
yeah. And that I think that's a really good segue into starting to draw our values jam to a close, because you just mentioned to follow your heart. We started the conversation hearing about how your work is in the area of values, and following your heart is kind of the same as following your values. And
Yeah.
my grandmother used to say to me, you need to follow your nose. And so I think the three are actually very, very similar. So there's one final question that I have for you, Alicia, which is what are you encouraged to do differently about harmony as a result of our conversation today?
Uh, to be more in the now
Okay.
and not in the should.
And
Yeah.
how might you put that into practice in maybe even a small way after we finish this call?
Yeah, is to be more present to what I do.
Okay.
Uh, because sometimes I'm doing something, I'm like, oh, I need to do that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's more like being more present in what I'm doing. Yeah, so that the thought, the feelings, and action are in harmony to each other.
Okay. And mine about harmony is I didn't realize how much of an impact that game that I played with Jacob had on me. So it's to use that to help me pay attention to other people's perspectives rather than rely just on my own, because your own perspective, that example shows that it's limited at best and completely off track at worst. So,
Yeah.
and how can I do that in practice today? I'm just going to have a look at the other calls that I've got today. And when I have those calls, I'm going to pay attention to finding out what the other person is really about in the discussion. So, Alicia, thank you very much for this exploration of harmony. It's
Thank
been
you.
beautiful. Oh, and the other thing I'm going to do is I'll probably tag Lisa when this Values Jam goes on YouTube, because harmony is what she's all about. So that's
Oh,
a good memory as well.
good. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.